with you something that we're asking for your partnership in this new year that we have together. We're just a week removed from Time Change Sunday, so obviously spring is coming, and you may be a little out of it next week, so we figured today was the day to introduce this. But good to see you this morning, and appreciate your partnership. I wanted to just say this. In just a moment, we'll have our ushers pass out a booklet to you. Before we do that, a couple things of note. I wanted to, first of all, just say thank you for the last year, your financial partnership, your faithfulness to attend, and whether that be in person or online. It's good to see Miss Shirley back today and Brother Joe last week for the first time in a while. And each of them now grieving the loss of a spouse, but also rejoicing in the Lord and His grace that we just saw in video. It's been a year, has it not? I don't even know how to articulate it, but one of the blessings has been the resiliency of God's people and supporting our church here locally, as well as missions and other projects and initiatives, and just loving on people and helping people as we've been able as a church. So I just want to thank you for that. And grateful that we're here today. Just surviving is a win. The fact that our church is still here and actually is growing, and that God is blessing, and that we're so grateful for that, and we give Him glory alone for that. In your bulletin in front of you, Hyde, would you hand me that? My bulletin there, or yours there is fine, in my Bible. I want to read just a couple things from the back of the bulletin. We're introducing a new project today called the Foundation Stewardship Project. We usually have something we work on as it relates to giving in our church, and this has been what we're going to introduce today that I think will be of help to you. Before I give you these 4 brief points underneath of that kind of explain this project, I talked with several pastors and church leaders about just how to introduce this and how to articulate this. It's funny, one pastor said to me, he said, people by nature do not get excited about eliminating debt on an asset they're already using or utilizing. And obviously part of what God has given us as a church is this building, the campus God has gifted us with, and obviously we already have it, we're using it, and yet we still have some financial obligations connected to that, and so we recognize that today. But I do want to pose this question today: what if, and this is what I've been talking with our leadership team about, what if we did not owe any money as it relates to our campus? What could we do with those funds? What can we do with that energy, that time? That's kind of the spirit today that I'd like to plant, that seed thought that's not about us, but outside of us, and the growth that God has for us in the years ahead. So those kind of caveats or introductory remarks this morning. All right, let's talk about these 4. So this will begin today through the end of this year. So this is a year-long project. It's not just for a few weeks or months that we would ask you to participate in as the Lord lays it upon your heart. You'll see first at the top there, join us in sacrificially reducing debt for the future stability and vitality of our gospel ministry. So that's the heart of this project. And then these 4 points. Number 1, in just 4 years of ownership and multiple renovation projects, which would add up to several $100,000 worth of improvement to our campus that we're able to just pay out of pocket on that. Our current debt is now under 50% of the value of our campus, and I just wanted to give God glory for that. We've only been here 4 years, and you guys have given faithfully, both to help us with the different projects we've done here, to repurpose a building that, one of the funny things about being in this building is I regularly have people earlier on, not as much now, who would say, I was in this building when it was this. I don't know if you know this, but this building was originally a lumber yard. I don't know if you knew that or not. And it's been repurposed probably a dozen times since then. It was a drive-in for a while when we bought it. This was an event center. This side, they could run 2 events concurrently, and the other side was a furniture store. So we have been repurposing this building now for the last 4 years, and all of that we've been able to do just with your giving. We have not had to incur any additional debt. And while we've been doing that, we've been also paying down debt. So I just want to give the Lord glory for that, and thank many of you that have given faithfully over the years to that. Secondly, number 2, with the recent stimulus increased deficit from the federal government, which looks like that is continuing based on some of the legislation that went through this weekend, we sense as a ministry a greater need to pursue a debt-free future as assertively as possible. I can't control what the federal government does. I can't control a lot of things that are happening nationally or internationally, but I do know for us to be in the best position moving forward, we need to keep moving assertively toward that goal. And so we encourage you to prayerfully consider how you can be a part of this project in relation to the things that are going on outside of our control. I can't control a lot of what's happened these last 12 months, but we have tried to stay on mission, on message, loving people, preaching the gospel, training disciples, and we're just going to do more of the same in the years ahead if Christ tarries is coming. But this would be a great way to help us with that. And obviously, as you probably know, without mentioning too much specific, it looks like a lot of us are poised to receive something in the mail in the next few weeks or into your direct account from our federal government. Here's the two things I would challenge you with. Number one, do not use those funds, if that's what comes your way, to get away, to buy something new. I would encourage you to use at least 50% of that monies to go into savings or to reduce your personal debt. If you have that, I say that to you as your pastor and as your friend. Do not waste this, because I think we have some things coming down the pike that will be challenging to us. So just put that seed thought in your heart. And then secondly, if you're able, if you add up in your mind the numbers represented in this room in our church family, we could also take a chunk of that, and I just ask you to pray about this, to help the church as a whole drastically reduce its debt over these next few months. And so if God would lay on your heart to give something extra as those monies come your way, or other things this year, we would ask you to do that. And it's funny because all of us think about giving a little differently. Some of us are very routine. We like to just spread it out, and we do so weekly or monthly. And then some of us are a little more spontaneous. So that might be appealing to those of you that are wired that way, but we encourage you to help us in any way that you can on point two. All right, thirdly, and something we're working on as a ministry, and our church members will be privy to more of this if this develops. We're currently working with our deacons and leadership team on refinancing what we do have remaining in debt at the lowest interest rate, shortest term possible. So we're trying to pay it off aggressively. So we're also doing internally what we can to address that need. And then this is the exciting aspect of this today. We invite you to sacrificially partner with us in reducing debt as early and often as possible in 2021 to ultimately free up what is about 25% of our current budget. Think about what God could do with a fourth of our budget, that we could do all kinds of things. That I got a long list, and I'm not talking about things for us. I'm talking things outside of us, that we would be free to be a blessing to missionaries, to projects. And I put up this slide here. This is a picture of Brother Tolson. Sorry, I went ahead there, guys. Brother Tolson, just this past Sunday, or just today, earlier today, celebrated their first anniversary in Taiwan. And he said this on his post. He said, in the midst of a pandemic, a church was planted 1 year ago today. So that's today. All glory to God, we have not had to cancel any services since starting our first one on March 1st, 2020. That's the kind of stuff we could be involved in more so. We currently support them monthly, but they're trying to raise money right now for a church building. What if we, instead of focusing on our building and our campus, we could say, hey, here's a healthy, robust chunk to help you guys get a permanent foundation. So I put that thought before you, and often when a pastor talks about stewardship, they're coming after my money or whatever you tend to think. I will tell you honestly, as a pastor, my heart is I would love to be free to do other things and to participate in a very assertive way in projects and things that right now we just are not able. So I just give you that thought and ask you to pray about that. So you'll see there on the top of the bulletin graphic there, or the bottom, when giving, please designate as foundation. So if you start to give today, if you want to just clear out all of our debt this morning, I would be totally okay with that, okay? But as the weeks go by, if a few of you hold out on us and it takes us till next Sunday, you can designate that as foundations, and we look forward to what God's going to do through that project.